What was the black market in your high school? So, you know how every high school has a trench coat kid? Well, the trench coat kid at my high school would open up his trench coat to reveal dozens upon dozens of sewn on pockets stuffed to the brim with snacks and candies. He had them organized like shelves at a candy store, 2 gummies on the inside right breast flap, trolley eggs on one side of the second pocket from the lapel, beach rings on the other. He sold snacks for half the price of the vending machines and would add the cash to this giant wad secured by a rubber band in the only interior pocket on the trench coat. Also, everything he sold was that kind of rare and coveted varieties of snacks that you only find in that sort of occasional, unassuming gas station you stop at the beginning of a road trip but can't find again on your way back. He also had popular snacks in packaging I've never seen anywhere else, like comically miniature Takis that came in a dollhouse-sized bag.
This video is brought to you by Fiverr, the biggest, most affordable, and overall the best freelance website there is. It's a place where you can hire anyone from writers to designers and everyone in between for as little as $5. It's absolutely the best place to save time and money for your projects. But if you want to take your business a step further, we would highly recommend Fiverr Pro, a place where you can work with verified, hand-vetted, exceptionally talented professionals that have, with their work for companies like Google or Apple, proven to be the best in their category. Link in the description below.
Condoms, oddly enough. Can you tell I live in a small town in the Bible Belt? Hell, you could get the things for free from the health department, but damned if people didn't recognize each other and talk. Same with buying them in stores. Hell, my ma didn't care. We'd take my sister for her depot shot. I'd pick up a paper sack of condoms, sell them for 50 cents a pop to the junior high kids. Hell, it's how I paid for art club fees and money for the trips. Our high school had an internet filter. An enterprising friend of mine set up a free BSD server in his basement and put together some 256 millibars flash drives with an executable version of Firefox. Could run directly from the flash drive without installs, and a SSH client. You could plug it in, connect SSH, then use the server as a proxy for all the Firefox traffic and get around any website you wanted. Those flash drives were a hot commodity, let me tell you. You could set up in the library and just start casually browsing a banned website, and people would start coming up and asking how you could do it. It's not a black market per se, but our school has a folder that is shared between all desktop computers in the district. Its name is the Student Shared Drive. This folder has been there from elementary school, and maybe even before, but recently, our school decided to give Chromebooks to every student. This has left that folder completely unmoderated, allowing people to put a lot on there without repercussion. Last time I checked it, it had a GameCube emulator. Handballs. Went to intermediate school in a coastal city where kids were ducking nuts for handball. The school wasn't very big, so every once in a while kids would hit the ball in a weird angle and have it go flying onto the roof. Lost for eternity, for reasons I won't get into. During lunch I would volunteer as a garbage collector, picking up people's plates and dumping them out, packing up the garbage bags, etc. I became really good friends with the janitors, and so one day I mentioned to them how the roof was probably the holy grail of handballs. The next day one of them handed me a huge trash bag filled with handballs that he had picked up from the roof. For about a month I became the most popular kid in school. Sexual favors. When I was a junior, they caught several girls trading blowjobs for money in the auditorium. I never got involved, gay guy here, but my classmates still talk about it years later. This didn't happen in high school, but rather in elementary school. Every few months we would have a book fair type of thing at school, and every time I bought a Pokemon book, by grade 3 I had about 6 of them. I started lending the books to other kids in my class, and they would read them instead of paying attention. The teachers caught onto this and started banning the Pokemon books. This just increased demand. In order to keep track of who had which books, I gave all of the regulars book cards that they could trade. One of my friends who somehow always had candy saw a market there, and so I told people they could also trade in the Pokemon cards with him for candy. We created a currency and we were the mint. Eventually the teachers traced it back to us. Some of them laughed, but our main teacher was pieiced. Shit was cash. Yo. I was always super hungry, but I was never given lunch or lunch money, so I started stealing packs of biscuits at home and trading them for the bits of people's hot lunch that they didn't want. The thing is, no one else's parents ever bought these shitty ass cookies, but everyone loved them. So I would be able to get a lot of food in return for a few cookies, which was nice. You might ask why I didn't just eat the cookies if I was that hungry. Well, they're also what I had for dinner at home, so it was nice to get some variety and a vegetable into my body once in a while. I dealt in homework. Maths homework got me a nice amount of money and other things like candy. Sometimes even homework from other subjects. I hated French, so I had a guy that did my French homework and I got him my maths homework. P83 calculators. Everyone had to have one and some people could not afford them. We had one guy that was known to steal them from other students and resell to people that needed them. The theft was so bad that the administration bought an etching tool and we had to etch our names into the calculators. It all came down when the supplier sold a kid back his own calculator with his name on it. The kid got in a fist fight with the supplier. Bad fight. We broke it up and administration came running in. They picked up the supplier's backpack and he had like 50 calculators in it. He was expelled. He was also really dumb. He is currently in prison for trying to hold up a taxi cab with a squirt gun. Cab driver pulled out a real gun and called the cops. This was middle school. But anyways, my teacher was selling candy for $1. I bought in mass. Sold for $2. I was a dumb idiot and gave some friends candy loans and they never paid me back, so I went bankrupt. Capital F. Went to a very strict boarding school that essentially prohibited most things. So a black market existed with practically every student having their own product speciality. From music, to potato chips, to drugs, to porn, to candy, to books etc etc. I was the soda guy. You wanted soda, I had you covered. Holy damn. I was expecting innocuous stuff like the Pokemon cards or Beyblades that were traded on the down low at my school. Boo, then I realized this question was for high school rather than primary or middle school. By the time I hit high school I was nowhere near cool enough to be involved in a black market. It was actually me. I started a piracy ring sophomore year and it continued until I graduated. Essentially we had a massive stockpile of pirated software, movies, games, etc. Anyone could join, on the condition that they kept it quiet and they made sure to add stuff every now and then. Anyone who didn't contribute was eventually removed. And by the time I had to shut it down there was probably over $6,000 worth of stuff there, with around 8,100 active users. The school eventually started getting suspicious about all the software floating around and I didn't want it getting traced back to me, so I nuked it all and left no evidence that led back to me. The cafeteria, not school run, kind of just a cafe inside the school, would charge $3 for a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. So one girl kept the ingredients in her locker and charged $1. When the school caught wind and shut it down, they tried to guilt us all by saying how the cafeteria was someone's livelihood and we were taking away from that. But like, $4 for peanut butter? Honestly though, $4 for a PB sandwich? No thanks. I graduated high school in 2011. We had senior shirts but this guy's design was rejected because it was going to say sexy, SE for seniors and 11 for 11. The school didn't find that appropriate for a bunch of 17 and 18-year-olds, so they rejected the design. He then went and started selling the t-shirts himself after our senior shirt came out and it was ugly. Everyone started to buy them and wear them on our free dress days. The administration was in an uproar about it. Eventually all the seniors were called to a meeting where the principal screamed and cried to us about these shirts and tried to embarrass the shirt maker. But we all hated the principal, so no one cared. My school ended up banning soda because it was too sugary. They replaced all the soda vending machines with Gatorade and started to serve only fruit punch and pink lemonade in the cafeteria. So my band teacher started secretly selling soda out of his classroom. The classroom was by itself on the far end of campus, so no other teachers were around. The band students spread the word to other students, so he had a nice stream of customers. and he used the money to buy band equipment since the school wouldn't fund him. Band, theater, and art shared a budget with sports, so of course sports always got all the money. We had a kid named McKeel. You didn't go to him, he came to you. Most days he would slide up and just offer you some candy at a good price. One day he had a PSP on the market. The best deal came when he had packs of Reese's Pieces. Market must have been slow that day, so when I said no to $1 he haggled himself down to 10 cents. Edit. After thinking about how 10 cents candy got me 500-ish upvotes, I remembered that it was not McKeel. It was Demetrius who cornered the market. I was one of the first people in my high school to get high-speed internet. My computer had a 2x CD burner, and Napster was going full swing back then. So music. $5 for a burned CD with whatever songs you wanted. I made a pretty decent amount of money. Maybe $40.50/week. For about a year, it beat mowing lawns and shoveling snow. That's for damn sure. Soda bought for $1.50. Sold to students for $2.50. A backer. The really intelligent kids with excellent rapport with teachers would charge $5.20 to cover you when you ditched a class. Highest I paid was $38.63. Haggled down from $75 to skip school entirely so I could go on a date. He just lied for me in every class and marked me as present when he was told to take the class attendance list to the receptionist. I'd say at least 4 or 5 backers were functioning for 10-20 people each day. I did it for one day and made $130. Got caught because a kid's parents called in. The next day he cracked and ousted. Took 3-4 months before that market recovered. So many jobs lost. TLDR. Private school kids have too much money, so they spend more to not attend the private school. I sold cup noodles in my locker because we didn't have a very good timetable for lunch. I'll put the TLDR at the top, since this is a long read. Haha. Obligatory on mobile. Sorry for shit formatting. Blah blah. TLDR. Started a candy dealing operation in middle school. Ended up becoming the kingpin of a mob of 12-year-olds. Made sick money. Got threatened with prosecution. Mum stopped buying candy. I dealt in candy and soda. The vending machines at my middle school were ridiculously overpriced, because every penny above a certain $sign amount would go back to the school. So for example, if a can of pop was usually $1 in the machine, the school would charge $1.50 and get to keep the 50 cents. Instead of doing the less greedy thing and making it barely noticeable, like 20 cents more per unit, they decided they didn't want kids eating candy at school anyways, so they skyrocketed prices. $2.50 for a can of pop, $3 for a candy bar, etc. So I beat the system. I'd go to the dollar store with my mum, where candy bars were like 60 cents each, and buy boxes at a time. I also bought flats, 24 off soda, which ended up costing about 50 cents a unit. At first I wanted to do it all myself, so I sold them for $1.50 each, essentially doubling my money after I paid taxes on the product being purchased. It was great for a bit, but it started to grow too large and a little bit out of control. This school had grades 7 to 9 in it, and was from a rural area. So basically every kid went to the same school. There was probably 500 kids between the 3 grades. In the end, I basically made a mob. LOL. Instead of selling the candy and pop for $1.50 each, I contracted my friends from my small village to help me out. I sold them the candy and pop in bulk for $1 a piece, and told them they could do whatever they wanted with the candy. I'd sell them 10 units for their lunch money. Then most of them would sell that all at $1.50 a piece. Use the $10 for their lunch, and have $5 to buy more candy and soda from me. I was probably profiting close to $50 a day at the end. It was very impressive. Until the police showed up and the school called a massive assembly. Apparently selling candy and pop without some kind of license permit is illegal where I live. On top of that, they said, out loud, during the assembly that whoever was in charge of the scheme essentially created an illicit gang and that legal consequences would follow if it wasn't stopped by the following Monday. They also sent out a letter to every parent including the details. No names were mentioned. Thanks to my strong bond and the blood-like relationships with the boys I grew up with, we all agreed to end it and keep our mouths shut. It also didn't help that my mother refused to take me to buy cases of pop and boxes of candy after she read the letter. Looking back, it was all kind of a farce. I don't think they could have prosecuted 12-year-old me for it, but my mom wasn't willing to find out. Best comment of the day. The guy who ran our tuck shop used to have a side business selling banned items like soda and junk food. He was a straight A student who the teachers all adored, so even if someone had tried to rat him out, none of the teachers would believe them. One idiot did try, and he actually got detention instead of the tuck shop owner, and had to write out "I must not tell lies" 100 times. I was a courier for him, because as a girl I could hide the goods underneath my female hygiene products that no teacher, male or female, would touch with a 50-foot pole. It was a good gig, and made me untouchable by the girl bullies, because none of them wanted to lose their access to the school's black market. It came unstuck when he graduated, so the teacher said they would take over and it all got uncovered. Luckily, he took all the blame, because he'd already graduated and didn't give a fuck anymore, so I got away scot-free. I'm still friends with him to this day and he now runs his own wholesale business. His HS racket has gone down in history. I recently heard some kids who go to my old HS talking about the tuck shop racketeer, and it filled me with pride that the story is still being passed down through the years.